Hello everyone, this week I will show you how to create this Toronto cityscape in watercolors. Welcome to my home studio where I share my passion for watercolor paintings. My name is Dinesh. Did you know that Toronto skyline features over 1500 high-rise buildings, making it one of the most recognizable cityscapes in North America? Many of my students and beginner artists find it challenging to capture the essence of a cityscape, especially with a good composition and use of light and color in watercolors. In this video, we will learn essential watercolor techniques including layering, color blending, and creating depth in our paintings. We will explore the unique architecture of Toronto from the CN Tower to the bustling streets with the horses by creating a visually pleasing composition. Before I dive in, be sure to hit the subscribe button to become a part of our ever-growing creative community. Now without further ado, let's get started everyone. Before I start any painting, I usually analyze my reference and I think about how to arrange my elements in my reference to create a visually pleasing composition. Again, this is how I arranged it in this painting, and you can arrange your composition however you want it. So my focal point is the cob mounted on the horse. It's our focal point, and the midground would be the streetcar and the building. And the background building will be this tall condo building and the CN Tower hiding behind it. But you can see how I arranged it while we sketch, and we'll go from there. As for the supply goes, I'm using Bovang Watercolor Rough Surface 300 GSM, and you can use any watercolor paper you want, but make sure it's 300 GSM. As for the supply goes, I'm using Winsor Newton professional grade watercolor paints. Again, you can use any watercolor paints you want. Okay, let's talk about sketching. And again, when I talked about in the beginning how we're going to arrange this composition with my vision, again, you can take my reference and you can arrange it in such a way that which is visually pleasing to you, and this is how I'm arranging it. And you can also use your own reference as well. And when you watch this tutorial, try to learn the essence from it than just copying it as it is. Because every artist paints differently, every artist paints and draws differently. It's based on their vision, and everybody have a different eye and a different way of seeing things. I started with the horses and the cob first because I want to make sure that I'm placing them properly. And you can see that how much space I have in the foreground. I want to eliminate it. I don't want that much space in my composition. The other thing is I usually don't separate or have different half sections of the composition. What I mean by that, I don't split the composition in half. I usually try to have 1/3 because that creates a really nice dynamic composition. And you can see that I totally ignored the streetcar or the tram, which is in the midground, because I want to make sure that I want to capture the cobs really as nice as possible. And you can also see that the condo building, which is in the midground, even though it's kind of like a little bit off in the composition, I moved it exactly towards the right. And from it, so now you can see that I have some points where I can constantly compare my drawing to. So I have the cops on the horses, I have the big tall building, and I have the streetcar. Because again, this is not a one way to draw. There's a lot of different ways to draw as well. And this is the way I approach things, is just establishing my focal point and arranging things and everything everywhere. And you can see that I also moved the CN Tower towards the left instead of hiding behind the condo building. I also made it a little bit smaller, so it kind of creates a really nice depth and it goes in distance. So I am applying the first wash as of right now. So the first wash is usually the lightest value in your reference. So the lightest value, as I could see, is that building, the roof, but the biggest shape would be the sky first. So I started with the sky, and you can also see that I also applied a little bit of warmth using raw amber on the CN Tower because there is a little bit of warmth I see. And you can also see that I see a little bit of tinge of warmth on the roof as well. So I'm just going and adding that as well. And I'm blocking the the midground building. And as you can see that in a matter of second, I was able to establish the background in the midground really fast. And there's also some trees there. I'll just add it because it also able to frame our figure in the foreground as well. And again, I'm painting it, I sped up this video 5 times faster, so don't think that I'm painting this fast. So take your time when you watch the video, and you can also watch it again to capture the essence from this video. And you can see that I'm blocking the road. So when I'm blocking the road in Toronto, like they have different kind of roads, and you can see that there is coolness, there is a warmth. So I try to capture it. So once I'm happy with it, now I'm adding the shadow for the CN Tower. I always start with the background, slowly bring it to the foreground. And when I do shadow pass on the CN Tower or the background, I usually think about how can I simplify it and how can I get this in few strokes as possible. So this way you don't spend hours and hours creating each and every detail in your composition or in your painting. And that's what exactly I was trying to do. And you can see that as soon as we are layering the second wash, as I'm saying, and you can see that everything comes alive. And I didn't apply the first wash for the building yet, the condo building yet. But this is a really big, strong shape. So I want to make sure that it's crisp and it looks really nice. And you can see that I'm kind of also combined with the tree, which is on the right hand side on the midground. And I'm also leaving some white bits for the street lights and the street signs. And at the bottom, I'm kind of going a little bit darker because I want to create this really nice contrast between the cop and between the midground building. And again, you can see that it's not like I changed everything in my reference, and that's how we should paint, because we shouldn't copy things as it is. I learned that as I was painting more and more, and there is no visual expression or your style when you paint things as it is from the photographs. But you could do it, but if that's your vision and that's the art you want to create, you can do that as well, and there's nothing wrong in it. And you can see that I'm adding the first wash for the cop on the right hand side, and I'm adding the second wash for the first wash for the second cop. And again, I thought I went lighter, but I think I went a little bit darker. Again, when I took this picture, you would be surprised how light the reference was. Like in the picture, it always looks darker, but in reality, the things looks lighter. It was super light, but here when I'm looking at the reference, I also paint really a lot outside. You can check my how to do plein air painting in watercolors in one of my videos, and you will see that how lighter things are. Even though in the video it looks a little bit darker, but in reality things are lighter when you go out and check, because there's a lot of light affecting the environment. And I also did the first wash for the horses too. So I used burnt sienna and burnt amber, and that's what I see, and I can add that as well. I'm adding this skin tone for the cops and for the figure in the foreground as well. And you can see that I want to create this gradient, so I wet the paper first with a lighter color, and I used a darker color on top of it. And I want to capture this really nice shape. It kind of like rounds it around this guy, because that's how the condo looked like. And I'm trying to use a wet on wet, so I use this green color, and I'm using this bluish darker color on top of it. And you can see that just by adding those wet on wet, it creates this really nice contrast, and it also started looking realistic of our building as well. Again, one thing a lot of my students and beginners make mistake is like not taking time to layering it. They go like dark really fast, and that's not the way to paint in watercolors. If you use gouache or acrylic or oil, it's really nice. You can layer it, you can go lighter, darker. It's really amazing, and it's really easy to paint. But I enjoy painting in watercolors because I like the challenge of it. So that's why I picked the medium, and I also like to push how far I can use this medium to push it further. And I also use the advantage of using transparency as well. And you can see that I use the building on the left hand side. I also made it a little bit darker because it creates a really nice contrast. For some reason, people attract to contrast. When there is the lightest light and darkest dark, and it looks really nice in a painting. And it also looks really nice in photographs too. If you check any photographs or any paintings, the most of the paintings you get attracted to, or I personally get attracted to, is which has a lot of contrast, which has have a lot of colors, or which has have lightest lights and lightest dark. And again, having this value range of lightest light and darkest dark, and that gives a really nice, amazing painting. I've seen a lot of watercolor paintings from my students. Is the values looks the same everywhere around. They have the same values. So that's one of the things that takes years of practice. Still, I'm learning as well. I wouldn't say I'm master at creating the values as it is, and again, I'm just trying to capture my memory from the reference was taken, and I was trying to capture the essence from the photo as well. And you can see that I also painted this trees in a really simple strokes. Again, I don't try to paint like stressfully. I want to paint really freely with the medium. There's one thing personally I don't like in watercolors, is like going around and painting stuff, because it kind of like stops my process. And I'm using like Chinese white to create some textures in the midground near the streetcar. So now let's add some details or the shadow pass for the cops. And you'll be surprised, once we add the shadows, everything will come alive in our painting. And most of the time when I start the painting, it doesn't look good at all. I'll fairly admit that. As soon as I do it, it looks really bad. I thought I'm going to lose the painting. But once I start adding and the light and shadows, the painting will come alive. Even when I paint outside, a lot of people check my work when I start in the beginning. They thought like what I'm doing, but after hours, they come and check my work, and they would be surprised what I was able to produce it. And again, that's the thing happens with me in the beginning of my watercolor journey. Is when I paint, I was really scared, what I'm doing, my painting doesn't look good at all. But I kept going and going until I add the light and shadows and add the details, and the painting will start appearing on our scene, and it will start look realistic as possible. And you can see that just by adding the shadow for the horse, and you can see that it created three-dimensional for the houses, for the horses. So again, when you paint, you also have to think whatever you paint, or the object you're painting, or anything, is you have to think, does it look three-dimensional? Does it have the correct light and shadows? And even when I talk about light and shadows, you don't have to go and capture each exact movement of it. You can cheat your light and shadows here and there, but you have to match the lighting conditions, where the light is coming from and where the shadows are going. Now I'm adding some second pass for the details for the streetcar, and you can see that now I'm adding the shadows. So even though the shadows look a little bit darker, but it will go duller. And I'm also mixing a lot of blues, a lot of yellows, because I see a lot of warmth in the shadow as well. And I usually try to start from the foreground to the midground to the background, so that way I can also have a lot of value ranges in my shadow as well. And you can see that as soon as we add the shadows for the cops and the horse on the other side, you can see that they also anchor on the ground as well. And again, I'm mixing different colors of blues and yellow ochre and a little bit of burnt amber in it. And I'm adding the shadow for the person who's in the background. And I'm also adding the shadow for the trees, which is in the midground. And you can see that just by adding the shadows, everything came alive in our painting. So now I'll use white paint to bring some of the highlights back, to bring a lot of details from it. So again, I'll try to keep it minimal. I don't try to overdo this. And again, it just to bring back some dark areas and create some contrast and glints and everything else. And the Streetwires, I'm going to use my favorite brush and create some lines. Again, I don't copy things as it is, just to try the capture of essence from our painting. Again, this is how the painting looks like at the end, and I tried to summarize everything, my 1 hour 30-hour session painting video into 15 minutes, because it's easier to sit and watch, and it's also really nice to think what I'm thinking while I was painting this. Again, you can use this video as a reference, and you can use your own reference for painting, but just apply the principles of what I've showed in this video, and let's see what you can come up with. Thank you once again for watching this painting tutorial. Please feel free to share your thoughts in the video in the comment section below. If you have any other watercolor related topics you'd like me to cover, reach out to me at watercolorimpressions@gmail.com or leave a comment down below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and be sure to hit the subscribe button to become a part of our learning community. By subscribing, you will receive weekly upload notifications and stay updated on our channel, and share with your fellow artists, friends and family. And good luck with your painting, folks.